Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. I missed last week. I totally spaced Thursday, so I wasn't here, but I am here this week, and I want to talk to you guys about election anxiety. I've been thinking about this for quite some time, and then I saw a post that Michelle Mayo did just the other day, and she had talked with somebody about election anxiety. I told her, I've been thinking about this so much, I feel like I need to record a podcast, and then I realized by the time I recorded the podcast and got it in queue, the election would be over, thank God, and it would kind of be worthless. Hopefully worthless. I'll get to that in a minute. But I also was listening to the news last night, and I heard Deepak Chopra talk about election anxiety, and I realized that, hey, guess what? It's not just me. And this has been the greatest realization of anxiety in my entire life, that it's never just me. It's never just you. It's never just one of us. It is a collective thing. And right now, if there's anything I know for sure, it's that there's a whole lot going on in the news, in current events, even outside of the election. And there are a lot of Americans, including myself, who are feeling it. So let's just take a minute and talk about current events. Let's talk about what's going on in the world and how you might be feeling, because it is a lot. It's a lot no matter which side of the aisle you are on. And I'm not going to get too political, or I'm going to try not to get too political in this, because I'm not talking to any specific party. I am talking to us as a collective people, as a collective group of Americans who are watching what's going on in the outside world and how it is affecting our mental health. So whether you are wearing a red hat or a blue shirt, I'm talking to you right now. I realize that we are taking in a ton of information. And because our brains are meaning-making machines, we are making it mean something about either ourselves or someone else. And that's just the way it happens. So you might notice that your chest feels really tight, that your shoulders are up here, that you're really tense and you want to snap at the people on the street. Or maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you feel like you're going to throw up. Maybe you're like, I don't know what to do with myself because I don't know what's true and what's not true. Let's talk about all of that. And if you are experiencing this and you're like, hey, you know what? I really need coached on this. This is a perfect time to jump into the comments and say, Megan, can you help me? Absolutely, I can. That's why I'm here. You are always welcome to ask for help on any of my lives and in the comments. Mostly my DMs are open. If we haven't met before, my name's Megan and I am a coach. I help people develop resilience and confidence by lowering anxiety and stress in their lives. So we find the habits that you have that are feeding that anxiety and feeding that stress. We create some new habits, and we also find the thoughts that make you do the things that you're doing. So for you, maybe right now your thing is like, I am always doom scrolling Instagram because I know something's going to happen and the political world is a nightmare. So to keep track of it, in order to keep myself safe, I just keep reading. Or to keep myself, we like to say, I need to be informed. I need to be on top of it. I need to know, what if I miss something? All of those thoughts can make you feel really stressed out and really, really anxious. So I'm going to tell a little story about myself first and talk mostly about how this is affecting me. I will admit I am a former history teacher, a former government teacher, and I like politics. I really do. And I try to stay fairly centered. I have some really big opinions about candidates in this election. I'm pretty vocal about them. Not today on here. So I am pretty vocal and I do have opinions. And when I listen to the news, which I do, yes, I get angry, I get frustrated, I get stressed out. What I'm not necessarily feeling right now is anxious. If you are feeling anxious about election day, about post-election, I'm not here to feed your anxiety today, okay? I'm not here to tell you, oh yes, this is what I know, this is what we don't know. What I'm here to talk about is what you can do to lower that in your own life. So for me, I'm very conscious that if I notice when I'm listening to the news, if I notice that I start to feel anxious or stressed, I turn it off because it's not necessary. If I'm enjoying hearing like, oh, wow, I didn't know this was going on. I didn't know, I will listen to a speech always. If there is a live broadcast, I'll listen to that because I like to get my news straight from the original source. I love that. But if I notice that I'm listening to something, or if I'm scrolling on my phone and I happen to come across something and it's not making me feel joyful or uplifted or hopeful, if it's making me feel like I'm going to fall into a dungeon of despair, I turn it off. And I'm just going to give you guys permission right now to say, when you start noticing that anxiety is really creeping up about the election, my hope is, sorry, I think I woke up with a cold this morning. My hope is that you will also recognize that you're feeling it and turn it off, and not use that feeling as a prompt to keep seeking more information. Because what we really want is to notice that what I'm taking in is causing me to feel this way. And a lot of those feelings are not necessary. So let's talk about some coping mechanisms you can have. One of the things is just being mindful. Like I said, being really mindful of what am I taking in? What news source am I taking in that's making me feel exceptionally angry, exceptionally stressed out, exceptionally anxious, dread even? What am I listening to that's making me feel these things? And if I notice where it's coming from, what do I think will happen if I turn it off? What do you think you're going to miss? How could you maybe feel instead if you turned it off? But just saying, oh, okay, I see that I'm feeling anxious. I need to put this away for a minute and I need to go do something that I know feels good. Maybe that is turning on some music and dancing around. Maybe that is, I'm just going to go outside and be in nature. The leaves in Northeast Indiana right now are probably at peak, maybe just slightly past peak even. I feel like we're getting through fall, but it's beautiful out here right now. Maybe you need to go outside and look at the leaves. Maybe you need to call a friend. Maybe you need to go play with your dog or your cat. Okay? Whatever you need to do to say, okay, listening to this news, listening to this information, imagining what will happen when this candidate or this candidate gets elected. Let's put that away for a minute and say that our brains are just guessing. Yes, we have news. Yes, we have information. And what we really need to do is that we're not there yet. We're right here. And today, we're okay. That's important. So I already talked about limiting your news consumption. Yes, you should be informed. Yes, you should make valid, rational choices based on your beliefs and where you want to see the country go. And so I'm challenging you, even though you feel very anxious in this moment and it feels very, very focused on this is what I'm afraid will happen. Here we are, right? We're back into the present. This is where I'm afraid we're going to end up. Instead of looking at what you're afraid of what we're going to end up, let's look at this is what I hope we see. And those are two different mindsets. And I think this one is really, really important because so much of what we hear in both sides of the aisle is very fear-based. It's very, oh my gosh, if this person gets elected, then this will happen. If this person gets elected, then this will happen. But that's all projecting what we don't want to see. So I'm going to ask you today, what do you want to see? What do you want to see happen? And that's how I'm going to encourage you to focus yourself when you're listening to news. This is what I want to see happen. I'm not hearing these things that I'm hopeful for. When you go vote, when you make the decision on who you're going to vote for, I'm going to ask you to say, are you voting for what you don't want or are you voting for what you do want? What do I want to see happen? Do I want to see this or do I want to see this? When you look at I want to see instead of what I don't want to see, that makes a big difference. Not only does it bring hope to the equation, not only does it bring some joy to the equation, and does it bring your anxiety down, but it also takes us to a place where as a collective people, we're all going towards what we want and not trying to stop what we don't want. That shift in focus is really, really important because when you're focusing on the things that you don't want and on the things that you're afraid are going to go wrong, you're going to feel anxious in advance. And sometimes those things aren't even going to happen. We just have to be really mindful of what am I looking for? What makes me feel positive? What makes me feel hopeful? What makes me feel really good about the direction that I want the country to go in as a whole? Where are you finding that? If you stick with that, that's going to guide you and it's going to help bring that heat down, even in a really overwhelming and really busy time where there's a lot of people who are very angry, very fired up over things that we don't even know right now. Okay? So we're going to go backwards. We're going to say, mind your news consumption. When I'm listening to the news, is it fear-based? Is it hopeful? What am I, like, am I getting it from the original source? Am I listening to random people on Instagram or am I listening to the actual person? Ask yourself where you're getting it. Am I getting my news from Facebook posts from Squid.Jake or something like that. I've seen so many random names like Monkey Matt. I'm like, who's this person posting this thing? Are you believing this? Or are you getting it from an actual news source? Are you looking at multiple news sources? Are you using your brain to realize that they only have a 2-minute window to interview someone and then they have to cut it off? Or are you creating the end of the story yourself? So be mindful of how much news you're taking in and how it makes you feel. If it's making you feel anxious, if it's making you feel stressed, put it away. You don't need that. Go outside, dance around your kitchen, do some art, make cookies, talk to your kids, play with your dog, call up a friend, do something different. Because that's where we really are right now. In this moment right now, I have a cup of coffee that needs to be warmed up. I have a house that needs the heat to be on, and it's a beautiful day. I don't need to take in the news right now. I'm really happy talking to you. Whatever's happening out there is fine. The second thing, I'm being mindful of how I feel so that I know when it's time to do something different. The next thing is just to make sure that I am focusing on what I want instead of what I don't want. I am voting based on where I want to see the country go instead of what I fear. We're always going back to what we want and what feels good because that brings us the safety that our body and our nervous systems need. Okay? The next thing is talk with your family, talk with your friends, talk with people about something besides politics. Anything. Talk with them about football. Talk with them about Halloween. Talk with them about whatever it is that gets you excited. Oh my gosh. Did you see this thing that we can go do? Did you see what so-and-so like their new house? I don't know. Something that has nothing to do with politics. Talk with other people. Really talk with them. Be curious. And remember that these people, if you don't know who they're voting for, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. I'm old enough to remember when people didn't tell each other who they voted for or which side of the aisle they leaned towards. I mean, we probably knew, but we didn't talk about it. It wasn't necessary. Is it necessary? Some people would argue that it is. I would argue that if you're voting for what feels hopeful and what feels good and what makes you feel calm, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? And the next thing is I really want you to take care of yourself. Part of that is putting the phone down. Part of that is going outside. Part of that is making sure that you eat really good food so that you're not stress eating all the time and then feeling more stressed out. Good morning, Anna. So making sure that you're really taking care of yourself so that you're not stress eating. Like I watched the news and then I ate a pizza, or I watched the news and then I ate a gallon of ice cream because I was so destroyed over the news and what I think is going to happen in this election. That's not taking care of yourself. Sleep, for crying out loud. Do not scroll on Instagram all night long and then lay there and stress out about the fate of the free world and try to sleep, because you're not going to sleep well. And then it's just going to be worse the next day. You have to be willing to take care of yourself. You have to do things, again, that make you feel good and that make you feel hopeful. All right. So I hope you understand. Yes, we are down to less than 2 weeks. Thank God, because I'm sick of hearing about it. And let's talk about post-election. All right. I did have this conversation with my parents last night that I am a little concerned, no matter who wins, what we're going to be like as a people afterward. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of energy getting really, really angry at people who we used to like. I'm not talking about candidates here. I'm not talking about them. I feel like when you run for office, people are going to love you or hate you. And that's been true since the beginning of time. I'm sure there were people out there that thought George Washington was I almost cussed a lot. Jerk. I'm sure they thought he was a jerk. But it doesn't really matter, because who I'm talking about is the person who lives across the street from you, or the person who had the wrong shirt or hat or flag or whatever else. And so let's really just remember that when this election is over, we have to be able to come together to have a country that's functioning. We have to. And that's going to require forgiveness. And that is sometimes a really big ask, and something that we might not even want to do, because we believe what we believe very passionately, me included. And so that is my challenge for myself, and my challenge for you is to remember that whatever happens, we have to be able to come together as a country and to be able to say, hey, we're headed for goodness and greatness, not fear and anger and hate. we want goodness. We want goodness for everyone. I want goodness for everyone. I want joy for everyone, and I want greatness for everyone. And that doesn't come from staying constantly afraid, on guard, anxious, and afraid. We have to bring the temperature down. Okay? So we have less than 2 weeks. If you feel like you are very anxious and stressed out, please know that you can message me at any time. What I do is help people deal with anxiety and stress so that they can start getting towards those things that they do want. So those goals that have absolutely nothing to do with politics, like maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you want to ask for a raise. Maybe you want to quit your job and like go on a safari. I don't know what you want to do, but whatever it is that you want to do, I want to help you feel calm and confident and resilient enough to be able to do that. So my messages are always open. You are welcome to come dump your political stuff on me, as long as you are not rude, because again, I'm focusing on the things that I want. If you can be kind and you can be inquisitive and ask good questions and really ask for, how can I feel really good? I'm here for it. All right, you guys, take care. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you will share this with somebody else who might be really pent up about what comes up in the next couple of weeks. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.